Hi, everyone. I am sitting here on a rainy day in Florida, which doesn't happen that often this time of year, but it is today. So, what a great day for me to have a distraction. And Miss Tonya is more than a distraction. She's a very beautiful, intelligent woman that has overcome a lot of things in her life, a lot of obstacles. And today she's going to take us on a transformative journey designed for women that seek empowerment and self discovery and even holistic growth. And we're going to discuss embracing the unique rhythm of being a woman. Okay. So Tonya has come up with a divine triangle strategy. Now, I don't know if that's your invention. Is that your invention? Divine triangle strategy?
Yes, yes, it is.
Well, tell us about it. What is it?
Oh, hi. Thank you. Thank you for having me again. I would definitely want to say that it was a pleasure being on last show, and I'm more than happy to talk about the divine triangle strategy.
Wonderful.
It came about like as an accident, to be honest with you. Well, actually, it's not an accident. I was trying to form my brand, as far as a coaching business. And one thing about our journeys is it's always a learning journey. If you especially if you've never done something before, and that idea that something's going to happen instantly and that instant gratification, when you see other coaches and you're like, "Oh, I can do this." And this came about when I kind of got slapped in the face with life,
Mm,
realizing there was all these other things to consider, like as far as marketing and branding, understanding what I really want, how to actually get in front of the people that I want. And it was just such a new world for me. And one of the things that, you know, I was hearing many people say was niche down, niche down.
hmm.
And there was such a resistance for me because I am not one to just niche down. I am made up of so many things that comprise me up. And that was a big challenge. And I feel like that held me back because I was listening to so many experts because they've made their money this way, they know what they're talking about, but it wasn't flowing with me.
Yeah, so they were talking about finding your niche and
Right.
not
Like
going
just
too broad.
and not
Mm,
going too broad.
right.
And it just it was not working for me, like, and it was like it was a bit of resistance. So it took a while, I would say, like 7 months of me like really defining what I want, who I want. And I'm like, I want to help women. That was my big thing. It's like I want to help women. And then it was like, oh, what type of women? Business owners. And then it was like niching down still, and it still was not working. I think I
Yeah.
was talking about this last time. I was focused only on business women. And
Mm-hmm.
now, through it was literally through like a meditation, it came to me about how to really incorporate my dance experience into life coaching experience and bringing that really full circle. And
Mm.
the divine triangle strategy, the name came up before the full concept for me.
Ah, isn't that okay? All right.
So
So,
it was like the name was revealed, but how I really wanted to brand it came about later after I worked on a documentary film.
mm,
It's now a MSNBC film. It got picked up by MSNBC. So
wow.
very, very happy and proud for the director. It's called Periodical.
Okay.
It's
Periodical.
a
I see where this is.
documentary about women's periods.
Yeah, I was figuring that.
Yeah.
Periodical. Very good.
Yes. And
All
I
right.
had the opportunity to work on that set, and
Uh-huh.
I learned so much on that set. There was so many things that were revealed that wasn't in the final cut of the movie, that
Mm-hmm.
I was able to take away. And when I learned that we were just such on a different cycle as women, like a man's hormonal clock is 24 hours.
Mm,
They have a 24-hour hormonal clock. Does that
mm,
sound familiar? 24 hours in a day? Like,
mhm.
yeah, but women were not on that clock. And I'm like, what? Wait a minute. Like, and I'm like, we've been working like men for too long. We really need to become like in tune with ourselves, just
Yes.
unapologetically as women,
Right.
and it was like it stemmed around our menstrual cycle.
And before
It's
you get that
controlling.
far, let's talk about that. So, first of all, to backtrack a little bit, when you said about the niche and then getting overwhelmed with marketing and branding and all that, like I relate to that because writing a book was one thing, but to get it published and then I self published, then I had a market. I am now into rebranding myself because I have this podcast and another book coming out, which is actually it's a workbook for women to get to where you're talking about, where they listen to their body and they grow and they find their potential. So I relate to all of that. And so you took sort of like what they didn't focus on and use some of that to inspire you. Is that it?
Yes. Yes, and it was really like, they focused on it, but it was going into a deeper level of it, of understanding it and understanding how at different phases of our cycle, we are optimal at this point. It's
Mm,
like, oh, this is actually the great time to conduct your meetings, oh, this is the best time to not do
mm,
these type of activities. This is the best time to do this type of activity because we have this relationship with our body that it needs to be on a more positive aspect. We need to see our periods in a more positive light. You hear so many women talk about the pain or they hate their period. And
mm-hmm.
it's like we're saying we hate our body
Yep.
because this is only something we as women will experience and go through. So we need to figure out, like, we gotta figure out how to have a beautiful relationship, when she comes along. We gotta be like, hey, how you doing, girl? I've been waiting on you.
I'm going to
Yes, let's
take
do
care of
this
you and
together.
relax. I see where you're going with this because I think what a lot of women do is, especially if they're in business or, self-employed, whatever, they're oh God darn it, I have a meeting that day and I'm due to have my period. I'm just gonna have to like take some Advil or Motrin and wear extra protection. Where instead, they should ahead of time have some foresight and not schedule a meeting maybe that week or that day. Is that right? Is that what you're getting at?
Is exactly. And that's actually where like the divine triangle strategy comes in because it's mind, body, and spirit. So it's mind as far as like the concept of self, how
Mhm.
we view ourselves, and that even includes our period and its flow and how we see it. If we feel like it affects our lives or we can't do much, that's an issue. That's a concept of self that we need to identify. There is
Mhm.
a big movement with women in self-care, but we're not talking about this other self-care that regulates our whole year for years. Like it's regulating who we are, what we do, and we should go with that flow. So that's where the concept of self, the mindset works, the transformation happens, right? That becoming, and then the body, like for example, me, I know my first day, well, the days leading up to it, my energy starts to decline. I start to lose a little bit of focus before it actually comes on. And I'm like, oh, it's about to come on. Okay. I need to prepare myself because I know the first day it comes on, I'm going to be craving, leading up to that time, I'm craving like beef and burgers, like I want like red meat. And I realized, okay, first day, I'm spotting. But the
Mhm.
second day, is when I experience the nausea and when it's hard to eat. So
Mm,
I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be popping pills for the rest of my life, because I'm very big on our bodies. So it's like, how can I control these? How can I control
mhm.
this naturally? And it came by just naturally doing what my body wanted. I would pick up a black coffee, my nausea would go away, and the
Good.
pain would go away. Did a little research. What do you know there? The caffeine in coffee is a
Caffeine.
pain reliever.
Yeah. People don't think of that.
People don't
No.
think of that, but they'll pop a Tylenol, which does have
Yeah.
caffeine in it,
Yeah.
but it's like this coffee, it comes naturally with it. Not only
Hmm.
does it come naturally with it, it has more of it in it. And two, it's antioxidants. It's just black
Yes.
coffee. I don't add
Yes.
any milk or cream. It's in its natural form brewed.
Right.
So it's like, oh, okay. So I use that time as a cleansing time. Since it's
Mm,
hard for me to eat solids, I'll do smoothies. I'll do juices to keep up with my calories. I'll take it easy. I'll take care of myself because the next day, it's like that day didn't even happen. I start
mm,
incorporating solid foods, like my energy starts going up, and I just like from there, my energy just starts increasing. So, really, for me, I'm only accounting for these 2 days to prepare for.
mhm.
It's the same for every woman, but it's just different for every woman.
I was just going
Carbs
to
help
say
me
that.
with cramps.
Yeah, you have to kind of, whatever your experience is with that, excuse me, because some women do have terrible time when they have their period. Some people have more pain, some people have more bleeding, but again, you have to find your own personal triangle and work it
Yes.
out. But the key too is to look at these things ahead of time in advance. That's what I'm hearing you say. Yeah.
Yes. And when it actually comes with you starting now. You starting now with there's a tracker that I developed. I call it a basic period tracker because there's so much more that I consider of what's happening because like you said, we're unique. So we have to understand what's happening to us individually. So the first thing is to start tracking your mood. It's like start tracking when your energy level drops for no apparent reason. It's like, dude, I was fine. Like, and then all of a sudden my energy level started to drop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like it's like, okay, let me track when the first day it happens. So let's say you forget to keep track of your moods, for example. The
Mm-hmm.
first day it comes on, you're tracking it. It's like, man, I was feeling this way the day before and I
Okay.
was feeling this way the day before. So you can start tracking how you feel before the initial day. And so for that first month, you're just tracking, documenting everything, basically becoming aware. Because
And
once you become aware,
yeah, and Tanya, excuse me again, I'm having voice problems. Um, of course, I think that women that already journal, they can just incorporate this into their daily journal, which so it's not a big new thing that they have to train themselves if they're already journaling, right?
right, exactly. And you just start keeping tracks of different things. For this one, I say your mood, your energy level, your cravings. I do have cravings in there, and I do have your flow. Like, are you spotting this day? Are you heavy with clots? Is it now? It's no longer there's clots. It's just a heavy, consistent flow now. How is it changing? How does it look? How does it smell? It's smelling differently. And that's just the basics, because we have other discharges, that happen and they have different consistencies and because we have all these different phases. It's like 4 phases for our menstrual cycle. It's 21 days or more, for women. So it's important to first you just start becoming aware. You keep it simple. And then as you look at your previous month, you can kind of pinpoint the next month. And it's like, okay, I know I should prepare around this time. And then you just become better and better at it. And you start to get this flow with yourself, and it's just a beautiful relationship you just start to develop. And that's when, you can really start aligning where it comes with spirit, your purpose, your fulfillment, things that you want to achieve. It's like, oh, okay, work on this around this time because this is when you're most optimal. Avoid this around this time because this is when you're going to start feeling this way. And you just start getting that natural flow, just who you are.
Yeah, and we might have talked about this the last time, and we'll see how this interacts with what we're talking about. But there is something called emotional intelligence, right? And emotional intelligence, like to get there, we have to be aware, we have self awareness, right? So we connect those two things, I believe. Do you do that in your triangle?
Absolutely. It's one of the things I actually talk about how our emotions, they're fostering a level of self-awareness. Like when you become aware of this, this is like you said, it is of being self-aware. So that is a part of emotional intelligence. And it's about, not allowing our emotions to think for us, but think with our emotions. So it's like you don't allow that emotion to control your thinking. Instead, you recognize the emotion and you come from a space of peace where
Yes.
you can actually use, both sides of your hemisphere. You can actually
Yes.
use that logical side and more of the creative side, which really brings in that emotional intelligence,
Exactly.
because you're incorporating it full circle.
Yeah. I was talking to someone yesterday on one of my podcasts, and we were talking about triggers. And I said to this woman, and she's 30, and I said, I'm like decades older than you, but I still have times when I get triggered, even though I did a lot of work on myself. And, um, I meditate and I do all these good things. It just comes out of nowhere and I get triggered. And what I learned is feel the feeling, but don't act on it. Sit down and just feel the feeling and say, okay, why am I feeling that way? And just real quickly, my therapist, my psychologist that I meet with on Zoom was late, and it was 15 minutes late. And I start getting queasy in my stomach and butterflies and nervous. And I went, what's going on with me? And she sent me I sent her a text, and then she said, oh my God, I mixed up the dates. I'm so sorry. I was feeling abandonment issues from my childhood, but most people are not that self aware. I train myself, it's hard, but I train myself because I used to just react, have that trigger, feel the feeling. I wouldn't bother feeling the feeling through the feeling, and I would just react, which got me in a lot of trouble. So, what do you think of that? Do you agree with that? That you should stay with?
Yes, that's exactly where the concept of self comes in. Because all
Yes,
these are happening simultaneously.
yes.
It's all happening at once and all the answers are within us. It is truly within us. We have all the answers and we're here as, guides to each other. But the reality is that everyone has to go within because if we're feeling something, that means it's within us. And sometimes we don't want to admit it and we get into denial. And that denial is, some people call it resistance, not avoidance is a part of denial. Not wanting to deal with your situation is not good at all. I saw something in the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm like reading this because I'm big on like, I want my financial freedom. I want my financial independence. I need to be feeding myself with more financial books. It's like I need to acknowledge
Mhm.
this that, okay, I need to work differently in understanding money. I can't keep avoiding this. And one of the definitions that he said, he was like, the definition of insanity is when you keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different outcome. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm
Yeah.
insane.
They say that
Like,
they say that in AA all the time. That's a big AA saying.
oh really?
Yeah,
That's so,
yeah,
oh, that's interesting.
yeah. They bring that up a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow, this like he's so right. And I really appreciate that, like coming to terms like this is what I want for myself. I want to understand how the rich see money because I can't keep asking, like I can't keep looking up to middle class people when it comes to money. It has to
Hmm.
be from a different perspective and because they're seeing it differently. So I'm like, I have to see this differently in order for me to respond differently with
Hmm.
money, emotional intelligence when it comes to money.
Yeah. I had to learn how to budget and everything because I married very young and we were very poor. But I have a family member, and she's in her 20s, and she's always running out of gas, always running out of gas. But every day she goes to Starbucks. And I tried to tell her, make the coffee at home and you'll have gas money. I mean, that's a perfect example. Doing the same thing over and over again, right? And getting the same results. I don't know even what it costs anymore, but it's like probably $5 for a coffee at Starbucks. So I said,
Yeah,
well, at
right.
least start going to Dunkin' Donuts. It's a little cheaper. But that's a perfect example. She knows she's denying that she's going to run out of gas before the week is over and have to borrow money. But it's not stopping her from buying this overpriced coffee, right?
And you know what else too? I realize, like for me personally, I realize that I really love nice things.
Yes.
I really enjoy nice things. And it's like, then you need to be making moves to get nice money. It's like,
Yes.
okay, then
Get
just,
more
okay, it's
money.
not just about just increasing more
It's,
money. You need to learn how to have that money work
yes.
for you. Like, you
Yes.
need to start using it differently because the type of money, like the way you want to live, people who have that type of money think differently about that money. So that's where it becomes where the becoming, what
Mhm.
do you want to become? Like unapologetically, I'm actually, that's the name of the program, is Unapologetically Woman.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yeah.
the desires that you want. Okay, if you want those desires, all right. Let's learn about affiliate marketing. Let's learn about a high ticket skill to get you that amount of money that you want so that you can
Right.
continue your Starbucks. If you want it, okay, there are plenty of things online to get you $100 within that week that will pay you weekly,
That's right.
and these are things that I provide as well. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you can
Mm-hmm.
actually do this at home,
Exactly.
and you get paid out every Wednesday. Oh, think about affiliate marketing and don't focus on these little KDP profits. No, go for high ticket affiliate marketing. We're going to think smart. We're going to work smarter, not harder here. So it's all a learning curve, right?
And you know what,
Because,
Tanya,
uh-huh.
I'm going to share with our audience because I know your story. And you are a woman that came from being in a homeless situation. This is a big bottom. You were at a bottom. You were homeless. And you went from that to Miss Tanya Davis, entrepreneur, coach. So you could not have risen above that circumstance and got to where you are if you did not work on your concept of yourself and what you had to do to succeed.
Exactly.
Exactly. I'm very proud of you because I know your story.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
And people could go back and
It's,
look at her first podcast that you did with me, and you could hear all about it too. It's very inspiring. So we talked about concept of self, and that leads into self-awareness, which I find a lot of people do not have self-awareness. Like they will just say things like they don't know how to read the room. I mean, it's just amazing. So, what do you have to say about that, about self awareness and how important it is?
I honestly, it's funny you say that. There's this video I've been kind of avoiding putting on TikTok. I haven't recorded it yet, but it was me about to come on TikTok and say, I stopped saying thank you, universe, you know,
Mm,
because I realized, like, and this is actually while I was meditating, because I still practice the silent meditation. And just came to me that I still feel like it's something outside of myself when I refer to thank you, universe, and things of that nature. I still like am correlating it with that we're separate somehow. And I'm like, wait, if everything is within me, all I have to do is say thank you. Like, just say thank you. It's
Yeah.
like I started talking to myself in the mirror,
Hmm.
looking myself in the eyes, and I'm like, I love you. Thank
Yes.
you. I'm glad that you are here. Like, you are the universe in manifestation in the flesh. Like, you are here. I am a being. Like, and it's connecting to that part of self awareness when you really realize there is really no separation
Hmm.
between what I do and what happens in my life. It's like I am.
I am relating and smiling because in my workshop, in the one chapter for reflections and actions, I tell the woman to look in the mirror and say, I love you. And I say to them, if you can't do that, say, I like you. Because when I first got sober 30 odd years ago, I was told to do that. And I could just not say it. I could not look in the mirror and say, I love you. So I said, I like you. That was easy, you know. And then as I developed my concept of who I was and found out who I actually was, not who people told me I was all my life, now I can do it. So it's not even odd. It's so perfect that you said that. That's a good tool. That's how you self appreciate.
It is how we self appreciate, and it goes. It's such ancient wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
that was just so common knowledge. Like, it was such common knowledge, and it's just we're really just getting back into it. We're just really going within, and we're going within and being true to ourselves. Just once you're true to yourself, that's when you can really start to make changes. So it was funny when you were talking about, your family member. I'm like, I feel like she hasn't figured out, oh, let me get something else as a side hustle to get the things that I really want to get, to live the way I want to get, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to settle and not have. It's like I want it. Like, if I want it, then you know what? I need to make this much extra money this month.
Yes.
And that is the key when it comes to self-awareness, is using
Mm-hmm.
your mind properly,
And
which is being
fortunately,
present.
yeah, this, and very fortunately, I am working on my boundaries. So I am one of the people that she would call and say, can you loan me $10? Can you loan me 20? And she called and I went, no. And it was so hard for me to, actually, it wasn't that hard because I just was like, had enough. You know what I mean? But it was probably the first time I said no, and that's the only way she's going to find out what she needs to do is people have to stop enabling. And that's what I was doing. I was enabling her, you know. I'd give her the lecture
Yeah.
and I'd give her the money. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So she needs to clarify what her life purpose is, what her goals are. And I really believe in what you do, which is coaching people. And this is why I believe that once you tell another person what you are feeling and your thoughts and your circumstances, it is an entirely different, powerful experience than you just having them in your mind. And I have found that through therapy, from AA meetings, from talking to a friend. Once I verbalize something and I put it out there and it's heard, right? It makes a big difference, which is why I'm rebranding Be Heard Women Empowering Women, because we have to be heard. And that is what you do, right? In coaching.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Being heard unapologetically, it's like,
Not
I'm feeling
judged.
this way. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge I'm feeling this way. And this is how I'm going to deal with it. This is how I choose to deal with it. If you have a problem, you need to seek within.
Yeah, I know, right? But I think that is just one of the most important things I learned 40 odd years ago when I got sober. because I was always a survivor. I was tough. I would help everybody else with their problems, and everything was inside of me. And I had to fall into a deep depression before I got help. And that is so important, though. But some people don't do that. And these are people that sadly might commit suicide because they keep all this stuff in them. And sometimes it's really not as bad as they think it is. They hate themselves for. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, you're right. These illusions, and that's another thing too. Like, if I can leave anything with an audience member, is it's important to know who you are. So when you recognize thoughts that don't align with your higher self. So as
Mm-hmm.
soon as something like a out, if you're thinking about the outcome, I just tell my ego, I'm like, stop it, ego. I release this outcome, because
Yeah.
we're too busy trying to focus on what's going to happen or things that happened in the past, but that's not how the mind works. The mind is
Right.
about the present. So it's like, okay, if that happens, I just say stop. I just tell my thoughts to just stop. And
Yeah.
then I say to myself, how can, like, for instance, if I need to get $10,000, I say, how can I get $10,000? How can I become a billionaire? How can
Mm-hmm.
I think like a billionaire? How can I move like a billionaire? And then, what? Guess what? It's like, oh, let's look at what some of Warren Buffett's books. Let's see what
Mm.
he does when it comes to picking out a stock company. Let's see what he does. Let's see how he analyzes this, because he knows what he's talking about. So
And a
I should
lot of,
learn
oh,
like him.
yeah, and a lot of successful people at their beginnings were very frugal about money. They didn't spend money like just haphazardly, or they never would have got where they are. My husband's very budget conscious, and it annoys me sometimes. But he always says pennies turn into dollars. So we'll buy something on sale or whatever. We can afford to buy it when it's not on sale, but I believe that too. It's like you have to, pennies turn into dollars. So the Starbucks coffee is going to turn into not having your gas tank filled. But this was great. This was a good session. We'll have to do another one because you're always growing. You're always changing. You've changed and grown since the last time, which was only a couple months ago. What was it? 3 months ago we did. Yeah. But so am I. I feel like I am too. It's like, yeah, if you are in the life force and you're recognizing that 75 years old, you could still change the way you think and act, then you will. And I really sincerely believe that. And in fact, my minister one day said, I don't know what it is, but you're like blooming anymore. Like you're just, doing so much and you're so energetic. And it's because the mindset that's the key. That's the key. And sometimes, like with you, people need someone else that they respect to tell them who they are or who they can be. Correct? Right? And that's you.
Yes, yes, it's important.
And what's your website, Tonya, before we run out of time?
So I have a couple of websites, but I'm going to give you the simple one.
Thank you.
So it's misstonya.com, because from
I
there
have.
you can get in that
Yeah.
mstonya.com. From
Yeah.
there, you can actually get to the Unapologetically Woman site. So you can
Mm-hmm.
either click there, or if you're into
Yeah.
the dance theater, you
Yeah.
can click there. So I have it actually. So I was like, oh, yay, finally figured this out. And they can download their period tracker right there on
Exactly.
Unapologetically Woman and just start getting their life together.
Yeah. I'm going to send you my new book, which is called Be Heard Women Becoming, I'm sorry, Women Empowering Women 12 Antidotes and 12 Actions. So there's a personal story. And then after the personal story is a reflection page. So they can journal down how they felt about those things. So I'm going to send you a copy as a gift
Oh
as
my
a request.
gosh!
So
Thank you so
send that
much. Oh my gosh,
today.
I'm so excited. That sounds amazing.
Who knows? You might use it in your practice. right?
Oh
You
my
never know.
gosh, that sounds amazing.
I
You know what's
yeah,
funny? Because I was like, I want you, I'm also rebranding as well.
yeah.
And I am rebranding my podcast for the new year. And I would love for you to come on and
Oh, I
actually
would be
talk to
glad
us
to.
about especially
Anytime.
women empowering women. It's like the change that you have seen,
Yeah.
like us as women go through, because that's a big deal. I feel like there's a big women's movement like
Oh,
coming up.
there is, and it needs to be kept on fire. So
Yes.
thank you again. I'll send you that workbook, and also I'll look forward to your invitation to be on your podcast.
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
so
Thank
much.
you, Tanya. You have a wonderful day because you're a wonderful person.
Oh, thank you. You too, love.
Bye bye.